Now on Sky News Business, Your Property Empire.
Hello and welcome to Your Property Empire. I'm Chris Gray. Coming up on the show tonight, how can young people become financially stable and set up a future of freedom and choice? What is the biggest roadblock in the way of young people being able to build wealth through property? And when is the best time for young people to start learning about personal finances? Well, joining us tonight is Brent Williams from Tomorrow's Youth and Charles Tarbey, Chairman and owner of Century 21 Australasia. Good to see you as always, guys, and welcome for the first time on the show. Now, I've known you for about 8 years. You've got an absolutely fantastic business, and I can't wait till my kids are old enough to use it. But for the viewers that haven't met you before, do you want to tell them a bit about what you do?
Sure. So I found an organisation called Tomorrow's Youth International in 2001. And the aim of the organisation was to fill in the gaps in teenagers' education by teaching life skills not focused on in schools. So things like emotional intelligence, goal setting, creativity, career guidance, and of course money and finance. It's for 13 to 21-year-olds. And the main program we run is called Empower You. It's a 2.5-day program over a Friday night, full-day Saturday, full-day Sunday. And to date, we've had just over 23,000 graduates attend in 6 countries.
Which is unbelievable. Yeah. So I guess most kids go to school. Why do you think there's a need for them to go through all of this stuff and learn about finances and I guess empower themselves?
Sure. Well, I think I talk a lot about Empower You, about the different kinds of intelligence. We have academic intelligence, which you have to get. That's in going to school and learning maths and science and English. Then there's professional intelligence, which you get in the workforce, and pretty much everyone has to have a job at some point. And then there's financial intelligence, and that's the intelligence that people don't have to get. You can choose to educate yourself. And I think that in today's age, with technology being such a huge impact on the way in which we learn and experience life, life skills like emotional intelligence, like creativity, like building strong beliefs are so important to complement what school traditionally does.
Now, Charles, I know you told me that you were young once, a few years ago.
Yeah, and you told me, how can I remember? But anyway, we'll leave that for another day, you and I.
And look, I mean, you employ a lot of people. You see lots of youngsters as well as people that have been in the industry for 40, 50 years. Do you think there is a need for education, I guess, for people as young as 13 or 14? Not just about money, but I guess a general... Yeah,
I think it's absolutely necessary because a lot of the time children would rather listen to their uncle or their auntie than their parents. And the parents always, as a father, you feel like you're always pushing your kids when you're trying to give them advice or educate them on certain things. It always feels as though you're badgering them. And I think that if there's a platform out in place, but if you've got a platform out there where you can take these people away from their families, because quite often the family is the biggest problem. They're the biggest hurdle with it, particularly if you talk about property. If your parents have never been engaged in property, you've got pretty much no chance of learning yourself. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a family where all my sisters older than me went into business, they bought property and so on. I just thought it was a natural thing. But you see a lot of it out there where the parents have absolutely no concept to start with, and so that just filters down. And so taking them away from that environment, putting into a third-party environment, I think that's the key. The third-party environment, I think is very powerful.
I think it's a good point because a lot of people won't take the advice from the parents, and I'd love my kids just go straight into property because I know they make more money and they've got more freedom and choice than having a regular job. I mean, you've got your kids into property, didn't you?
Did, yeah.
But again, it wasn't a complete handout, was it?
No, they bought at the right time. I guided them at the right time. The market cycles kicked in. They gained equity. They were able to buy second and third property based on equity. So it was a starting point, and because I'd bought my first property at 18 years of age, I understood what was needed to some degree, and I knew what they were going through. But they've watched, and your children watch, and they look at us and they think, do I really want to do that? It looks like hard work, it looks like a problem. But because you've done it before, you've got a chance of them listening. But as again, if it hasn't been done before, if they see their family and friends that are not engaged in it, I think it becomes very hard. That's why I think the third-party approach is so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I've got, as you know, I've got an 8 and a 10-year-old, and they're too young to do your course. I'm trying to financially educate them. I asked them, do you know what Daddy does? And they said, yeah, he sits around drinking beer, eating chips, watching TV.
Tell him to give me a call.
And he hasn't got a job.
Yeah.
So how do young people see this financial education, or just generally the education?
Well, you know, I think coming into it, there's 3 kinds of knowledge. The things you know, the things you know you don't know, but most importantly, the things you don't know you don't know. So most of the people that come to my audience don't want to be there because they don't really see the value of it, they don't understand the education or why it'd be impactful for their lives. But of course, once they go through it, as I know you've seen, life-changing experience. You know, I think because once they get an insight into the potential of their future, and more importantly, believe that they can take action on the ideas and strategies that I talk about, it's very empowering.
Yeah. And so I guess within your organisations, then there must be a lot of people there that want to learn and they want to be mentored and they want to be coached, and there's other people that are just shutting it off, and they're probably the ones that need the education the most.
Yeah, they would. I think there is a culture. I know when I finished school, the culture then was, hey, you have time off, you travel overseas, you go and do all these things, and the kids of this generation will talk about gap years and so on. And I think that can also be damaging because sometimes you go away from something, you try to come back, the education you had at school, that's sort of dissipated now, and you're almost starting all over again. So I do really think that the issue starts very, very early, and if you're treating it that way, I mean, go back to, I know this sounds strange talking about this, but the sex education classes at school, it was hard for me because I went to a boys' school, so I was trying to imagine a brother telling you all of these things. But the issue is that if the education is there, if they teach you not just economics as in economic subject, but the real world economics, I think gives you such a better chance to get started. I've got to say, I didn't know this existed, but it's something I would definitely push people to, especially people already within my organisation that still haven't got that grasp of what it's like to get started.
Maybe got a new speaker for you.
Yes,
yeah.
I think so.
Now, an interesting thing I found last time, because I've been speaking at some of your events, when I was at Deloitte, I spent 15 grand to do a course to teach me about property investing and leaving work, and everyone said, you're mad, why would you spend 15 grand? And I said, well, Deloitte's are never going to pay the money for me to leave work because it's not in their vested interest. The interesting thing I found is some of your kids actually pay for the courses themselves rather than the parents.
That's right, yes. So, you know, first and foremost, to get them there in the first instance, some parents are like pulling teeth. I've had instances where kids are crying in the car outside the seminar room and I have to send one of my volunteers to convince them. But once they go through the first one, they don't want to leave. And yes, they do. Some of these teenagers get 1, 2, 3 jobs over the course of 12 months just to pay for another course to get educated.
Isn't that brilliant in itself?
It's unbelievable.
Isn't that brilliant in itself? Yeah.
And these are young kids, which is great. So tell us a bit more about some of the concepts that you teach them, because typically it's a 3 to 5 day course. Yeah,
so our entry program's Empower You, and it's 3 days, and then we have an advanced 5-day camp, which you've spoken about many times. So Empower You is life skills. So areas like emotional intelligence, belief systems, communication skills, and within that section, I should add, we talk a lot now about social media and the way in which young people conduct themselves online, and the fact that whatever you put online is there forever. So there's a lot of education around that, which I know parents are screaming for right now. We do a lot on career guidance and, of course, money and finance. And within that section on money and finance, we talk about the basics like compound interest, managed funds, liquid assets like gold and silver. We're being asked so much to talk about cryptocurrencies now, which everyone's the buzzword now. But, of course, we talk about the fundamentals of property. Good debt, bad debt.
Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the cash flow game,
Cash Flow 101. Yeah, we play all of that. And, you know, because I think the more games are a reflection of life. So, you know, for anyone who comes to my seminars, if they're not having fun, they're probably not going to be listening. So the first thing is to be fun and engaging. And so whatever we can do, whether it's the games we play, the movie clips we watch, the interaction with young people, it's all going to be relevant to them. And what I call edutainment. Education combined with entertainment, and then you've got a really powerful mix for teenagers who don't want to be there at first but are dragged out when they've got to go home.
Yeah, Brent, there are people at 30, 40 and 50 that could do Cash Flow 101 with you too, so it's not just...
The Cash Flow game is an amazing game, based almost like a Monopoly thing. But I remember, and I'm still waiting for my Christmas present, that you did the Monopoly...
Yeah, we did a Monopoly game.
A year and a half ago.
We did a Monopoly game, but we've also written a program for people to buy and sell real estate as investors, go and get home loans, and it's built on with caricatures of different individuals within the organisation, and people can go and buy and sell real estate. We've got kids go and play the game, and some schools go and use it as well. So they can literally buy, sell. It brings up charts, shows them what their investment's like, how well they're doing, how poor they're doing. I heard a scream from the bedroom one day, and I said, daughter, is everything all right? She said, my property. I said, what about it? She said, drug bust. I said, really? When? And she said, well, and I looked and I said, are you playing that game? She goes, yes, I'm playing the game. And it then came on the screen, your property's been devalued by 25% due to this night, but still it educates them, and it's a great thing, and that's called Property Mogul. So it's out there, and people can embrace it and play that game.
Yeah. Now, before we leave you, any insights on the market so far this year? Because obviously the market doesn't really open until Australia Day.
Yes,
but what are you seeing so far?
Yeah, lots more listings coming on the marketplace, open for inspection. It's got lots more buyers coming through as well. The transactions are still there. I think what's happened is that a lot of the vendors are becoming a little bit more realistic. They know the heat's come out of it, so those that really want to sell are coming back. There's talk about listings. It's not listings that you need. Listings are sometimes just homes on display. For me, a listing is something you can sell today or this week. And so whether or not the properties that are coming on the market are just listings of homes on display is what we're going to really sort out in the very near future. And I wanted to say to you that I'm one of the most popular speakers in Australia because I'm free. So, you know, yeah, if you want me there, just let me know.
For sure.
Well, that's good. Because, again, it's good having advocates that the kids can look up to, that they're actually doing it.
Well, that's right.
And stuff like that as well. What are some of the biggest roadblocks that are stopping kids from doing this? Because it should be so popular.
Look, I think it's one of the biggest challenges is perception. I think for a lot of parents, they may first look at this kind of education and think, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You know, my little Sam's doing well at school, they don't need something like this. And I think that's really off the mark for what we're trying to achieve here. It's really about, you know, I was a school captain. I played soccer for Australia, and this education at the age of 19, when I was exposed to wealth creation and personal development, it changed my life, and it really made me a better version of myself. And so that's the first reason, is I think there's a misconception about the work that we do. And ultimately, like you said, people just don't know about us. I think we're Australia's best kept secret. So it's just really about the word of mouth of others who know about it, because once enough people get involved and understand it, that pay it forward starts to happen, and more young people, it's not the uncool thing to do now, it's the cool thing to do. And I think that's my goal, doing this for 15 years now, is to hit a critical mass where this becomes a part of the education.
Yeah, congratulations.
And I guess for a lot of people is like when life coaches came around 10 years ago, people say, oh, you don't need all that rubbish, whereas now everyone's got a life coach or a personal coach or something like that.
Yeah, it's very hard to deal with the issues yourself.
But the top performers in the industry, they must be the people that pay for that education and go to seminars.
It's the same as the top sports people. They've got coaches, they've got mentors, they've got physical coaches, they've got mental coaches in some ways. It's not the right word, is it? Mental coaches. But you know what I mean? I think that a coach is absolutely important, but the issue again comes back to where that coach comes from and whether that coach was introduced by your parents or not, because sometimes that has it deters people away from it. So same with the kids. They rather listen to their uncle and listen to their father, and I think that's the angle that.
So I guess because you have got older kids, any tips for parents out there that want to get their kids into stuff like this? How do they try and introduce it?
It's important. I spend a lot of time with my children, have done over the years, and go away on weekends, weekend drives. We just talk, and things populate our conversation. I know most of the times, without going into too much with my kids, otherwise they won't let me see them again, is I have an idea of some of the things I want to talk to them about before we go somewhere or before we go to dinner. And invariably we have chats, and they become very social chats, and then they pick it up a lot easier than me telling them that they should do
Maybe
that.
feed it through Facebook or something like that.
They're great kids too to start with. So.
And good to see you. Charts all starting from next week?
I think so, yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Nice to meet you too, Brent.
Nice to
Sounds
meet
good.
you.
Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back soon with more information on getting yourself educated.